Evidently, the Redmi Note 8 Pro has garnered a lot of attention, and that's primarily because of its quad camera setup on the rear with a 64 megapixel primary camera as well. Now, the Redmi Note 8 Pro, when I compared it against the Realme XT, a lot of you guys wanted a comparison with the OnePlus 7T, a camera comparison. So you know what? I decided to actually do that comparison and put the iPhone 11 Pro in the mix as well. The main reason for that is because all these three phones are possibly the best camera setups that you can get in their respective price brackets. So can the rupees 15,000 Redmi Note 8 Pro take on something more expensive like the iPhone 11 Pro or even the OnePlus 7T? And what's the image delta like? Those are questions that I'm going to answer in this video. I'm Irshad from Mr. Phone, and let's get this very interesting camera battle started. But before we move on, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever Mr. Phone puts out an awesome new tech video. What you see on your screen right now are the camera specs of the three phones. And you know what? If you considered only the specs on paper, the Redmi Note 8 Pro would beat the OnePlus 7T and the iPhone 11 Pro purely on hardware specs. But specs don't mean much, especially when it comes to smartphone cameras. Looking at just the specs and concluding that it is the best camera phone is akin to saying Tiger Shroff can compete in professional wrestling because he has a six-pack. Anyway, you can pause here to check all the specs in detail while I move on to the actual comparison pictures. Know that I won't have a points table at the end because that would be doing injustice to the Redmi Note 8 Pro considering the humongous price difference and the kind of R&D that goes into, flagship camera performance. Now, let's start with the close-ups. The first picture of the red shoe gives us an idea of how each phone handles colors and details. The red color of the shoe is accurately reproduced by the iPhone 11 Pro as expected. The OnePlus 7T is pretty close as well, but the problem is oversaturation. The Note 8 Pro tends to underplay the contrast at 100% crop of the area around where the jeans meets the shoe. You can clearly see that the iPhone 11 Pro offers the best details, followed by the OnePlus 7T and the Redmi Note 8 Pro. In the second picture of the red flower, again the color accuracy and details are leagues ahead on the iPhone 11 Pro. And in the final picture of the Galaxy Watch 4G, you can see that the watch face's color accuracy is better on the iPhone 11 Pro compared to the completely pink reproduced by the Note 8 Pro. Even the details and dynamic range are way better on the 11 Pro. Between the 7T and the Note 8 Pro, the Note 8 Pro offers crisper details at 100% crop. Overall, the iPhone 11 Pro is clearly the overachieving student in this round of testing, and this is why you buy a flagship phone. One look at a regular wide shot of the parking lot overlooking the main road, you can immediately tell the differences between the three pictures. You will notice that the dynamic range on the iPhone and the color temperature is just magnificent on the iPhone 11 Pro's sample. The Redmi Note 8 Pro tends to clip the highlights. The OnePlus 7T, on the other hand, has created a warmer image, and at 100% crop, the details are not as good as the iPhone 11 Pro or the Note 8 Pro. The Note 8 Pro tends to have sharper outlines, but it is definitely over sharpened. This reminds me of what Samsung used to do back in the day with the Galaxy S7 and phones prior to that. You move to the top right edge around the Big Bazaar area and you will see that the corner sharpness is better on the iPhone 11 Pro and the OnePlus 7T. In the end, you can see that the iPhone 11 Pro is clearly incredible for wide landscape shots as well. The Redmi Note 8 Pro does offer more details than the OnePlus 7T if that's good enough for you. One look at the first ultra-wide angle sample and you can easily tell how good the iPhone 11 Pro's shot is. It has the right amount of tonal range consistency, it has a wider field of view as well. The OnePlus 7T has cranked up the contrast a bit much, which crushes the shadows a lot. It looks sharp and attractive, but not a true representation of the scene. The Redmi Note 8 Pro's picture doesn't look too bad, but it definitely looks dull. The second image, again, the iPhone 11 Pro takes an incredible picture, but the sky has overexposure issues, which is clearly visible. One of the things that I've noticed consistently with the wide angle camera, the ultra wide angle camera actually, is that on the iPhone 11 Pro, there is a lot of highlight clipping. Surprisingly, the dynamic range control is better on the Redmi Note 8 Pro and the OnePlus 7T. Details wise, the Note 8 Pro and the iPhone 11 Pro are better than the OnePlus 7T. It is easy for one to pick the iPhone 11 Pro over the other two, but the Redmi Note 8 Pro is holding up well in this round. Let's take a look at the macro samples, starting with the red flower. The Redmi Note 8 Pro definitely has better control over the red color, but since OnePlus 7T has a higher resolution macro camera, you get more details at the same zoom level as the Redmi Note 8 Pro. The same is true for the next picture because you can see the individual pixels inside the Galaxy Watch 4G on the OnePlus 7T shot. Even the dynamic range is better on the overall picture. So if you want to shoot extreme close-ups, I'd suggest you pick the OnePlus 7T. When it comes to software algorithm based portrait pictures, I'm looking at 5 parameters in exactly this order of importance: cutout, natural looking depth, facial tones, size of face which is affected by the focal length, and details. For edge cutout, the iPhone 11 Pro is very aggressive and it tends to blur out the beard as well most of the times. The same is not true for the OnePlus 7T or the Redmi Note 8 Pro. However, when it comes to the quality of depth, I'd pick the iPhone as the easy choice here. Same is true for the facial tones and the details as well. The Redmi Note 8 Pro's oversharpening makes the face look unreal at 100% crop around my forehead. When it comes to the right size of my face, the iPhone 11 Pro and the OnePlus 7T have an immediate advantage thanks to the zoomed in focal length. To sum it up, I like the portrait mode shot on all the 3 phones, but the iPhone 11 Pro really needs to give us an option to not be so aggressive with depth. Otherwise, the iPhone 11 Pro would win this hands down. In selfies, I have no doubt that the iPhone 11 Pro just decimates the competition with the details, colors, and overall pleasing image here. The Note 8 Pro is just too sharp and it's just over sharpening way too much, and the OnePlus 7T is too soft. Having said that, the OnePlus 7T definitely offers the most natural looking color compared to the extremely cool look of the Redmi Note 8 Pro. Essentially, the Note 8 Pro's selfies are cold and sharp like a serial killer. For some odd reason, the selfie portrait's edge cutout is better on the iPhone 11 Pro and all the other parameters are better on both the OnePlus 7T and the Redmi Note 8 Pro. My problem with the Note 8 Pro specifically is that it tends to overexpose unnecessarily and the OnePlus 7T is just too soft. Here's the thing, I really didn't expect the iPhone 11 Pro to be troubled by either phones, and you can see that evidently here. The iPhone 11 Pro's detail, dynamic range and sound quality is tough to beat. And here we are only talking about the 1080p 30fps footage. Alright, so now I'm shooting a 1080p 30fps video using all the 3 phones right now, primarily because the Redmi Note 8 Pro can do stabilization only at 1080p 30fps, and that will give it parity on video. Of course, the iPhone can go up to 4K 60fps with wide angle recording as well and with stabilization as well. So of course there is an edge. So now you can check for image quality, image stabilization and sound recording, and let me know in the comment section below what you can see jerks in panning and average dynamic range on the Redmi Note 8 Pro footage, which is not the case for even the OnePlus 7T. And let's not forget that the iPhone 11 Pro can shoot 4K 60fps video even with the wide angle camera. The iPhone is a video beast, honestly. No mid-range phone can even try to come close. In 1080p 30fps selfie video, you will see that the Redmi Note 8 Pro doesn't offer any stabilization. The OnePlus 7T is good, but once again the iPhone 11 Pro selfie video is incredibly well stabilized with great dynamic range too. I love the facial tones as well. Remember, you can also shoot at 4K 60fps using the front camera. Essentially, the iPhone 11 Pro just delivers a knockout punch. Shooting indoors, you cannot tell the 3 images apart except for the color temperature, and the minute differences in detail retention visible at 100% crop are not worth highlighting as such. But all I can tell you is the 7T has softer details and no details in the shadows. The Note 8 Pro tends to oversharpen, the iPhone 11 Pro preserves details and keeps the noise too. So I can't really pick between the 3 in this situation. But there will be times when Apple's Deep Fusion tech will kick in and make pictures look incredibly more detailed. And that's where the iPhone 11 Pro shows how complex algorithms are changing the face of smartphone photography in the flagship segment where most of the R&D money is spent. In selfies taken indoors, the Redmi Note 8 Pro looks extremely sharp. Upon closer inspection, you can see that it is clearly oversharpening, and that looks super odd. The facial tones and natural details of the iPhone 11 Pro are more pleasing to the eye. The 7T looks average. Low light pictures is where flagships and flagship killer phones take it away from budget and mid-range phones. Just look at the first picture with and without night mode. Evidently, the iPhone 11 Pro's picture just looks excellent. It has great details, good exposure and superb dynamic range too. The OnePlus 7T is not too bad either. The Redmi Note 8 Pro, well, you be the judge. In the second picture again, the 11 Pro is much cleaner. It doesn't do much to reduce the noise, but the details are very well preserved. You can see some color artifacts on the OnePlus 7T shot, but it looks good too. The Redmi Note 8 Pro, well, again, you be the judge. In low light selfies with and without flash, the Redmi Note 8 Pro looks best compared to the other two. I will ask the editor to pause for a bit and show you guys the comparison pictures for you to judge in low light selfies and low light selfies with flash as well. You know what though? I really missed the Realme XT here. It was incredible in low light selfies. So yeah, as you can tell, you don't necessarily need an extra high resolution 64 megapixel sensor to take great pictures. I mean, the Redmi Note 8 Pro does take great pictures, especially portrait shots and daylight shots. But flagship phones with their computational photography and the kind of processing power that these phones have have. They're taking excellent pictures and you don't really need such high resolution pictures. In any case, what's happening on the Redmi Note 8 Pro is pixel binning, and the final output is a 16 megapixel output that you get. Now the problem with a 64 megapixel sensor is that while the resolution is high, the sensor size itself is smaller and the pixel size is smaller on these sensors. Now in comparison, the pixel sizes are bigger on the sensors that are there on flagship smartphone like the iPhone 11 Pro, and even phones like the Huawei P30 Pro, Mate 30 Pro, or Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus, all of those phones. Now those phones are actually using the power of computational photography and algorithm and processing power to actually do much better job. So that's changing the whole scenario, where the dynamic range is better, the details are better. In fact, like I mentioned, the iPhone 11 Pro actually goes one step further to do deep fusion with a lot of details in less than ideal lighting situations. Now coming to the camera comparison itself, the Redmi Note 8 Pro can directly compete with the OnePlus 7T is what I found out. The Redmi Note 8 Pro can actually take fairly good images compared to the OnePlus 7T in most scenarios, except for low light and video, and that is where the differences start piling up. But otherwise, if you're taking regular daylight, wide shots or shots of people and stuff like that, it does a good job. But one area where the OnePlus 7T is definitely better than the Redmi Note 8 Pro is in dynamic range. So overall, yes, the Note 8 Pro is a good camera for its price segment, but can it actually beat the premium flagships like the iPhone 11 Pro that we used here, or the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, or the P30 Pro? I think not.